I will call the April 17th council meeting to order and recognize Councilman Julius Waits to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, be with us tonight as we talk about the problems in our town, but also be with us everywhere in this country, this nation, this world. Let there be peace at some time. I was talking to a friend that was born at the end of World War I, the Great War. I was born at the end of World War II. Can we do away with all this and have world peace? Please be with all of our men and women in uniform, whether they're in the service, in the fire department, rescue, police department. Yes. Keep them all safe. Help us to make good decisions tonight. Mm-hmm. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes from April 3rd. Is there a motion for approval as written?
I so move.
Second.
Any discussions or additions? Seeing none.
I found one, but I'm not going to say anything.
Say it. Say it.
Now, Renee's had surgery.
I know. That's why I'm not going to say anything.
All in favor then of the minutes to be approved as written, do so show of hands. Next is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you need to add?
No, sir.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing? Seeing none, next is our code enforcement update.
Good evening. Code enforcement update for March 2018.
This thing going off again. Is this blue one supposed to be plugged in?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Breakdown for March 2018. Unsightly violations were 9. Conditions for collection 9. Vehicle violations 17. Business checks 11. Signs removed 44. Animal complaints 8. Zoning violations 7. Miscellaneous complaints were 8. Next page. Continuation, front yard parking 284 that were contacted for education. Illicit discharge 13, 57 rental standards. Tickets issued 2 for illicit discharge, 1 for vehicle violation, and 1 for unsightly, unsanitary issues. And the next page, the progression of the ordinance of 1726 was front yard parking, vehicle education. So far, the Irmo Police Department has identified 516 violations of this ordinance. Of those, 130 still need to be contacted or have failed to respond to our request for contact. 386 have had face-to-face and or phone contact with an officer, or 3 or more failed attempts for personal contact.
How many of those have complied or working on it? You know?
I don't know that number. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I have seen, just driving in the neighborhoods, some have already started to comply to the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
I have one question, Chief. These signs that are removed, what kind of signs are they?
For sale signs,
okay.
Lost dog, lost cat, lost kids. I'm just kidding. Just stuff like that.
Okay.
Just think the ones that are in the right of way that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Next is amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? None known, none seen. Next is considerations of communications. Whit Klein wanted to speak to us on stormwater. And
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is Stormwater Tagging Month. Wanted to make everybody aware of what we were doing. We're going through the neighborhoods in town that have the sidewalks. We've edged all the sidewalks over the winter. We've inspected 130 storm drains. Ones that need to be cleaned out were cleaned out. Some needed to be repaired by the counties. That was done. And this month we are attaching probably 30 to 150 of these stormwater tags. Part of this is education. We want everybody to know you don't put anything in the storm drain. Storm drains are just for rainwater. That's it, nothing else. Don't blow leaves into the storm drain. Don't throw whatever into the storm drain. It's only what goes into the storm drain is not treated by any sanitary sewer system. It's strictly for rainwater. So these tags are put on the storm drains. We're using a hammer rivet to put these on there, connect them permanently as a reminder if somebody goes to put something into a storm drain, hey, you know, whatever you're putting in there is going directly into the rivers. So it's a very bad idea and against the law. It's against our stormwater ordinance. So the storm drain tags are a reminder, hey, don't put anything into the storm drain system that doesn't belong there. Thank you.
Okay.
And we also, you know, people, I'll say leaves, pine straw, grass clippings, all like that end up in the gutter in front of the home, in front of the business. Those eventually end up in the storm drain too, and help clog the system, which causes some flooding when it rains bad. We need to do a better job too of trying to educate people on that, you know, they need to blow their grass clippings and the businesses, everything back in their lawn instead of letting it go in the road, because all that ends up going somewhere down the street if you're on the hill, and eventually ended up in those storm drains. And a lot of them do get clogged just
They
because
get
of
clogged,
the
yeah.
leaves and the pine straw and all that kind of stuff that comes out of yards, or businesses where businesses have their grass cut and they just blow it out in the road. We need to kind of start educating on that too, to keep those systems clean. You know, that one email or one picture on the email over here in Cornerstone showed those pipes that go up under the road, and they were both half full.
Yeah.
And that just comes from, you know, sediment wash up and everything. But over here below my shop, the house is on Ashbourne. They have, part of those homes have an enclosed ditch, and then there's an open ditch, and then there's a closed ditch. The part that was open over the years, trees and everything's grown in it, so it just filled up. And the county went over there to clean it all out and cut down the trees and all like that. The ditch that went from Flagsbury to that open ditch had about this much space in it. The one from the open ditch down to Friars Gate had about this much open space in it. And so they had to dig up that whole pipe and replace that whole pipe because they couldn't clean it out. The other one, I'm guessing they cleaned it out. But a lot of that is just stuff from, you know, leaves and everything else that falls in the road that eventually gets into that and clogs it up. Any other consideration of communication? I've got one I want to bring up, and I saw some Facebook post on it. I did go to that Facebook page since we were encouraged to, but also at our last meeting, that front porch is $15,000. It's not $38,000, it's $15,000. We voted to spend $15,000. We haven't voted to spend $38,000, and we didn't spend $38,000 on it. $38,000. We spent $15,000. I don't even know if we spent it yet if they're through. But what we voted on and allocated was $15,000, and mainly because it was rotten. A lot of the wood was rotten. It was going to fall down. Somebody could follow through it and sue us, and it'd be a $300,000 lawsuit. But I wanted to clarify that and have it on the record So it would be known that we didn't spend 38,000 for it.
We had bids for 38, didn't we?
I think we had a bid that.
We had
We
a
had
bid
bids
back
for
in
38
November.
and 36 or something like that.
But we didn't spend 38, we spent 15.
15.
Okay.
Mr.
I
Johnson's
think
bid.
that's where that came.
Yeah, Steve.
So that was corrected, right? That was corrected on that Facebook page?
I don't know. I didn't go back to look again.
I posted it.
Did you correct it on the Facebook page?
It was corrected, but I don't think I did it. I didn't go back and look again.
I posted it on there.
You did?
Mayor posted it too,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah,
twice.
it was corrected, but I didn't do it. But I'm gonna do the street marker now that I know what happened to it.
What are you talking about?
Any other consideration of
Well,
communications?
The Irmo thing that was on Chadford and Farming Creek. I mean,
And next is presentation by citizens for agenda items only. This is where any citizen who wants to address anything that's on their agenda may do so at this time. Anything else can be addressed at the end. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and then which agenda item you would like to speak to.
I'm Elizabeth Keller from 300 Waltham Abbey Road.
On
Coachworth?
agenda items.
What I'm just getting ready to tell you.
Huh?
What you just said about the front porch, that's one thing I was sent up here to ask, so I'm gonna ask this and I'll.
Yeah, this is not an agenda item though. You gotta talk about agenda items in this part.
Well, I did bring it up during receipt of communication, so
So where's it on the agenda at?
I just brought it up. And
You want me to
brought it
wait the
up.
presentation
Under-
by citizens?
Right,
All right,
that's at the end of the.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, next item is third and final reading of ordinance 1805. This is the one that has to do with appliances. We did have some changes to that. We'll need to make a motion on this one that's on here right now, and then we can amend it to whatever else we want to amend it to. But is there a motion for third and final reading of 1805?
so moved.
And second,
Second.
any discussion?
I want to amend it.
Okay.
After appliances, in parentheses, unless installed, end of parentheses.
Now you're going to keep it no more than 4?
No, take off 4.
So you want to get rid of no more than 4,
Yes, let me go back to
and
it.
then just go back to appliances,
Unless installed,
parentheses, unless installed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes, that's right. That's my amendment.
I second it.
all right. Any discussion about that?
I want to thank Eric.
Any more discussion? All in favor then?
You saying, Ms. Conlon, you saying that that's gonna fix the problem that we have? So if the guy has appliances that he's working on, he's got pipes running to it to test it, that means it's installed? I'm not trying to be,
If it's functional,
yeah,
yeah,
so he's got 20 of them back there working on it.
I don't see how 20 could be functional in the backyard.
If it's installed, if it's got pipes, if it's running.
That would involve power and I don't
And
think,
drainage.
and drainage.
I think the guy has moved everything inside a shed, so it's not even visible.
Well, if he puts it in the shed, I don't care.
Okay.
That's the only reasonable thing I saw was if somebody had a swimming pool with a gas grill, a small fridge, and a stovetop, that's installed.
Installed.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's not what we're talking about addressing. The problem we're trying to address is somebody has a business of fixing appliances and has a whole bunch in his
But as I
backyard.
understood, they weren't turned on, that they weren't functional.
And at the same time, I think Bob brought it up too. It's not just this particular home. There's a lot of homes where 1 or 2 appliances are sitting
Yeah.
in the backyard or side yard or wherever because they haven't
Yeah.
taken them to the road for pickup. They don't know that they need to take them to the road for pickup. They don't know that Tyler will pick them up. They may be waiting for somebody that has a truck to take them to the county. And
So
that's
it's-
where we can tell them, they
Okay,
can
so
put it at the road.
so if I put a used wash machine in my back of my yard and left it there because I was gonna ready to take it to the trash, I'm potentially gonna get a fine for that, having it there?
You'd get an abatement notice, and then you'd be notified that, yeah, you need to go ahead and take it to the trash. If it was from view too, now, if it's behind your home and you can't see it from the road,
Yeah,
then we wouldn't be stopping.
You can see it from my neighbor's house in the back of me, looking
Well,
over the fence.
then the neighbor would have to call and complain and fill out something that they're gonna testify that, yeah, it's back there.
But Tyler will pick them up.
Yeah,
Or they could give you the notice and say, yes, have Tyler come pick it up, and they'd call you, and then you'd get rid of it.
I guess what I'm saying is,
resolve it.
you know, is this gonna fix a problem that we have, or is this not gonna do anything? Is this, I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
If you had 5 or 6 in your backyard, I don't know how they could be functional.
I understand that, and I agree with you.
So that would not be installed.
I agree with you. But if I had one back there,
That's all
because
right.
I was replacing them,
Yeah,
you know, there's back there for storage
one
purposes.
wouldn't bother me. Would it bother you? It might. The problem was if someone with a dozen, I think, but I don't see how it's possible in the backyard to have a dozen functional.
Well, if it's not, it's in his backyard and it's not visible from the street. Okay.
So that,
Then we wouldn't be
none of our
stopping.
business. Yeah,
Or if you had a 6-foot-high privacy fence and had everything hidden,
yeah, then that's
it wouldn't
okay.
be,
That's why the 4 neighbors were complaining.
Harbison
Yeah.
gets you.
but, you know, it may be something that down the road, you know, we may need to look at it again and change the wording or add a number to it. But like I said, I know Bob had mentioned there are some other homes that, you know, if you do 4, all the homes with 1 or 2 are gonna be in compliance, so that's not gonna help that matter.
And code enforcement needs to just let us know. If this doesn't handle it, we'll do something else.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I mean, we can always come back and amend and change it. I mean, some of these ordinances we did, just like on the rental thing, it was mentioned that we would take stuff out of there and tweak it and apply it at some point to residential properties. You know, we just keep looking at it, keep amending it. Because if you've been long enough messing with this stuff, no matter how you write it, somebody that wants to leave appliances in the backyard are gonna figure out a way that isn't out of code. And it's a constant battle to try to word it in a way that does what you want without harming others, but at the same time giving code enforcement the ability. And it's a constant battle of trying to keep up with it and change it. But, you know, any more discussion? All in favor then of we gotta do the amendment first. All in favor of the amendment to change the wording from 4 to appliances that are less than solid, do so with show of hands. Now, all in favor of third and final reading as amended, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is second reading of 1806. This is another one of those floodplain things from the floodplain people that want us to change our wording. Is there a motion for second reading of 1806?
Make a motion.
And a
Second.
second. Any discussion? And this is basically just
Comply.
housekeeping, doing what they asked us to do and word it the way they want it worded.
Okay.
All in favor then of second reading on 1806, do so with show of hands. And next is 1807. This is one with the sewer things. Is there a motion for second reading of 1807?
So move.
And a second.
Second,
Any discussion?
question. This is the one DHEC? Okay, recommended. Got it.
And this is the one will kind of require sewer to be stayed connected to your
Right.
home if you're living
Right.
in it. All in favor then of second reading of 1807, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is first reading of 1808. This has to do with removing the pistol. Is there a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
There's a second, so we can read.
Let's discuss
Well, we
it.
can discuss it. It's already on there for discussion too. So we'll be discussing it later.
Okay, you'd rather discuss it than do it now? If we did it now, we wouldn't have to do it later.
Well,
This
this
way.
is a vote.
Okay,
The other one is just a discussion.
I take back the second.
You take back the second, or you
Yeah,
second?
because I've read this, and I
Well,
know.
let's vote on it then. Let's vote on it up or down.
We voted on it in 12, or 16 actually.
16.
Anyway, there's a motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
Again,
Next is the approval to do the advertising in the Explore Lexington County magazine, not to exceed 5,000. Is there a motion for approval? No motion, then that would die. The next is ratification of option 3 for the solid waste increase to become effective January of 19. When we did the waste contract, we said it was going to be so much for the first, and then go to 210 in January of 19, and then go to 240 and what's that, January 20.
20.
So we just need to tell Bob, yes, we still want to do that. We just need to kind of ratify that decision that was already made, that yes, nothing's changed, and that's still what we want to do. We can talk about that fee if we do anything on that later. But he needs to know so he can let the county know, so the county knows to get into their system come January to start collecting 210 instead of 180. So is there a motion for ratification?
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? And this kind of just helps as we get increases from Tyler, then this kind of goes along with their increase so that whatever's in there is enough to pay them. Instead of keeping it the same rate for X amount of years and then going up. We used to do that, and what would happen is it would stay, let's say, 230 for 5 years, and then it would change. And then it would stay that rate for 5 years, and then it would change. But we kind of found that two people didn't like that big change. If you went a little bit each year, it kind of was a little bit softer. So that's why we decided to do it this way this time.
I need to bring up something that has to do with waste. Several people have called. I have not, but several reliable people have called Sunoco, and they're now taking glass.
All glass or just some kind of glass? Or?
I understood it was all glass, and it was reliable people. I read it today. That's the reason I'm bringing it up.
They've always taken glass. They just don't want it in the back of the garbage truck. So people can take the glass down there themselves to Sunoco, and they will take it.
Yeah, that's right.
A big box of just white glass, that's what they want. But when it gets into the truck and it gets all smashed up and everything else, that's the problem that they have with their conveyor.
But they told people they'd take it.
Yes, they will. You can go down there right now and take your glass.
Are we sure they haven't changed?
No, ma'am, they've always taken glass. They just don't want
I
it
know,
falling
but-
off the tire of his truck, because then it's a big pile of dirty glass. It looks like dirt. And then they've got to
Okay.
clean it, and they've got all the truck with their belt, because all the belts are rubber.
I understand. I
That
just,
glass gets crushed up, it gets into all their.
people had called, and that's why I'm asking.
But you see, if you take your glass down there, whether it be brown, green, white,
Mm-hmm.
clear, they'll take it and they segregate it right there. It doesn't go on the belt. It goes right into their truck, or whatever you want to call it. And
Okay.
They recycle all that together, same color.
Okay?
They don't have to clean it up.
But Tyler doesn't do it.
So this is more of a situation with Tyler than with Sunoco.
Not really.
Any garbage truck, if they go down your street and they pick up 400 houses and they got the recycle and they throw it in the back of the truck and it's got glass in there with everything else and they crush it all up and it's been compacted. When the truck goes and dumps at Sunoco, it dumps everything. Now, of course, the cardboard and the cans and things like that, it can sort out. But the glass comes out in a big pile of broken glass. It doesn't come out the way it went in. And that's
Understood.
That's the problem they have. But they always take glass. If somebody wants to, if we had a program in town where we had a place and people could throw their glass only, they would take it.
Well, I'm going to correct that because people called legitimately.
Bob can check with them and just make sure, but yeah, and I had a conversation with them last year because I put something on my page about
Yeah.
them not taking glass or something, and she called and corrected me and says, yes, we'll take it. We just don't want it coming out of your truck.
Because I
it gets
think they're
busted in it.
misunderstanding.
They dump it on the concrete floor, and I don't know how they do it. They blow it, and the cardboard goes here, and the plastic goes there, and everything else goes in here, and then it tears up their machines.
But Tyler would be happy to pick it up, Mr. Mayor, and they'll be happy to take it down there, but then Sunoco's gonna charge us, they'll take it.
Yeah,
But
they'll
they're
charge
gonna
us
and
for
we gotta pay
sorting that
extra.
stuff out.
Because they have to hand sort it.
We're gonna clean it up and actually recycle it.
Because I think that,
Y'all need to take a trip down there sometime, they'll be happy to give you tours and it's really
That would be good.
well, I think, well, I corrected on Facebook because they were given, the information that people were given, these were people who I would trust to call, led them to believe they could put it in that green bin. So I'll correct that.
So is it we can or we cannot?
We evidently cannot, but they,
Well, we could, but if we did, and it gets down there, Sunoco is gonna start charging the town of Irmo for all that stuff they gotta do. We would have to go back and add that to a bill and say,
So are we taking a position we can or we cannot?
I'm gonna call them.
well, right now, we're taking a position no, because we don't wanna be charged more for that stuff all busted up.
I'm gonna call them and make sure and put it on Facebook.
Cause
Do you
Tyler don't
want,
care.
do you want to have us accept it, Councilman?
Except glass?
Yeah.
I want to do whatever the people want us to do. If they want to recycle glass, and we've been doing it in the past, continue doing it. I mean, if we're saying that we don't accept glass now because that's our new garbage policy or whatever, then that's our policy. I mean,
Well, we could do it. We
Then
just have to add
are
what
you
we
in
wanna
favor of
do.
raising the cost of the trash to accommodate the extra cost of doing glass?
if that's what the people want, yeah. If that's what they want. I mean,
Well,
people are saying that we did it in the past and it didn't cost us anything. We
Do you know how much more it's going to cost us?
their last fee, when I talked to them last year when we first brought this up, was $25 a ton.
Do you know what that would add to the cost?
No, because Advance didn't take very much recycling to them.
I'm sure they didn't.
we don't know where they put it. I think on the moon somewhere. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah.
Well, that was
But-
the problem because Advance wasn't going there. When we went down to ask him, well, what's glass? Because people were asking about recycling glass.
Yep.
And then they gave me the tour and they told me all about it and said, sure, but it's gonna cost. And I told council and y'all didn't wanna pay the extra money. But
And we don't know
that's all it is
how many tons, because it depends on how many people throw it in there
Sure.
and that kind of stuff.
Plus,
Well, probably if you put glass in your household garbage, it's not going to be recycled, it's not going to be
It's going
separated.
to go to landfill.
It'll
It's
go
gonna go to landfill.
If you put it in the recycle bin, they have to hand separate it. And when they dump it in the truck, it's going to get broken.
it's gonna get broken.
And that's their problem, is they don't want the broken glass
they
cutting their belts up.
prefer it not broken.
Since there's misinformation, I'll call and post something, but I'll call and tell you what it is first.
Okay.
But Tyler doesn't care, just so you know. I mean, if council wants to pick up glass, they'll pick up glass.
Yeah. Just when
Okay,
they
I'm
dump it down
sorry.
there, the county or the
Now
Sunoco
back
will
to
come
this
back to
option
us.
3, I'm sorry.
Okay. All righty. Any more discussion on option 3? All in favor then of the ratification of option 3, do so with show of hands. Next is, we got 4 contracts or 3 contracts
4,
for the okra strut.
3.
Yeah, one of them may not be back yet in time. The first one is for East Coast Entertainment for Root Doctors, and I think they're Friday night, and it's not to exceed $5,100, and I think it's so much for the contract and so much for the, what do we call that,
Larry got
rider?
Yeah, he
The
got the
rider.
rider, and this is all inclusive.
All
not to
inclusive.
exceed this amount.
Do you know how much the band was? Was this one like 4,500?
You got the contract? I haven't seen the contracts. You have the contracts?
So it was 4750 plus whatever. And like he said, that rider may be $100, maybe $200, but we think Bob added 10% or some number. And that pays for their food and those kind of things. Some of them it pays for the hotel room. I feel like this battery's going out.
Are they eating off the food trucks?
I can't answer that. Larry couldn't be here tonight because of the tax stuff, but I think from what I remember them doing in the past, some of the bands are more whatever than others, but some of them just want a plate of, I'm gonna call it fruits and vegetables and water. Some of them want sandwiches and cheese and chocolate brown.
Do you have the contracts?
But they just pick out everything.
Copies of them. Larry has the real one.
Yeah, I mean, can I see a copy of the contract? Because I haven't seen them.
Larry did say that these were totaled or less than we paid last year.
Yeah, it's less than what was budgeted.
And we still got one, it's the big band. They're still trying to work out everything. So there's another band, it's like 12,000?
I'm sorry, they're 5,000.
No, for the other band,
The weight band,
the weight. It's how much?
10,000.
Yeah, 10, okay. And that one had a hotel room because they're coming from New York. So that one may be 15,000 max, something,
They needed like, 8 rooms. He's figuring at $200. Yeah.
something like that.
$3,500 per rider.
But he's working on that one, and he's also trying to get sponsors for the hotel room, so he didn't have it ready. But these are for the Friday night band, and then one of them is the Saturday night opening act.
If someone knew of a local band who wanted to participate, couldn't they participate Saturday afternoon? Call Larry and get on the schedule?
Yeah, because like the Root Doctors is local, and they're Friday, and then that Rob Crosby, I think he's out of Sumter or somewhere.
Yeah.
He played here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
I can't remember, I think he's Saturday. I think he's opening Saturday. And Blackwater Rhythm maybe is the one that's
there's
closing
a
Friday.
couple of local bands that I
We had
got
the
an
blue
email
pickups-
about.
Pickup truck one year.
Didn't send it to Larry today because
One of
the man swamped.
Problems he's running into is, and he's going to try to change it this year, is for he had another band that he wanted, but by the time the Oak Strut Commission meets, and by the time he gets all the money that we're going to give him, and everybody's going to give him, and get an idea of what the budget's going to be,
They're already committed.
and he starts talking to these people, they're already booked.
Already booked.
And the one
Remember,
was
I brought
booked
that
over
up
here at
before.
Lexington.
Like the
And
Eagles.
A lot of these bigger bands have a 90-day, X amount of mile thing. They won't play within 90 days and so many miles. So he lost that band. What he's going to try to do this year is, I think in October, is the money that we fund in September from the hospitality or the accommodations tax, is go ahead and use that money to pay a deposit on whatever bands they choose. But they'll have to, work early and get it done. And that's kind of some reason why we get some of the same ones, because a lot of the other ones they want to get are already booked that weekend, and they can't play, if they're a good size, well-named band, they can't play within 90 days. So, do you want to vote on these, or do you want to defer these, or what does council want to do? I'm guessing these are all the same standard contracts we've always voted on. Don't know that 100% sure. But I do kind of have to trust the Orchestra Commission that they've done all their due diligence and
Well,
looking
they
at
have
all these things.
experience now in
Yeah.
that. So,
Let's vote.
So we got the first one for Root Doctors, which is for $5,100. That covers their cost plus their, whatever that stuff is, their, forgot the word again, Bob. What is it?
I'm sorry? For the writer?
right.
Riders, yeah, at $5,100. All in favor then?
This one says 4750. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, and then it has the rider, and we included $350 to cover the rider, no more than that. So it's $4,750 plus no more than $350 for the rider.
Not to exceed 5,100.
Yeah. And he said most of them should come in under that, or they'll all have to come in under that, but they should come in
They were all
quite a bit under that.
less than budgeted.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the price, but I don't see that in the writer. I don't see this in the contract. $350. I don't see it.
Is it in there, Bob, or do you know?
Because he doesn't have the writer yet. That's why Larry said, and he talked to his commission members, and it would not exceed that price.
That's fine.
So,
I think we need to wait and get a contract that we're voting on. We're voting on something we don't have.
Well, we're voting on $4,750, and we're voting on no more than $5,100.
Yeah,
No
but we
matter
don't-
what the rider says.
You don't know what the contract says, sir. You don't have a copy of the contract. I just looked at it 5 seconds ago.
Well, if you want to make a motion to amend, you can. If it gets a second and voted on, we will. If it doesn't, it won't, but we can go that way too.
We're voting on the maximum to give them, right?
5,100,
Okay, no matter what.
no matter what.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, was this, did I miss, was it, made a motion and seconded, or?
No, we haven't. Yes, we need a motion. I think we were just discussing that
Did we
first.
make a motion? Not
I
you.
think we were trying to figure out exactly what was on here first.
Oh,
But is there a motion for approval of the contract with East Coast for Root Doctors, not to exceed
so moved.
51? And a second.
a second. And it's with the understanding that this is the maximum amount that will be paid the root doctors.
That's what it says.
You guys at all, I have the rider from last year available on my laptop if you'd like to take a look at it. It doesn't mention money, it's more about parking, refreshments, hospitality tenants.
And some of that stuff got taken off because I don't think they're doing,
Money, it's all about cold cuts and some stuff.
yeah, and I don't think they want the 10 anymore. As far as these three, I don't know about that big band.
So the rider's just an estimation of what it's gonna cost to get what they want, as far as staging, lighting, things that are backstage, et cetera. It's not a cash money type thing as far as it going to them, it's just what the council.
That's fine, but you're asking council to vote on something we don't have in front of us to look at. And I don't have a problem doing it. I don't have a problem with the amount. I just want to see the contract that I'm voting on. We don't have that.
Can I airdrop it to you?
Yeah, if you can go email it, go get it on Saturday.
Email it to him. As long as we're voting on the maximum amount,
Yeah, we're basically voting on not to exceed $5,100 for.
period. I
root
don't care
doctor.
what's on the rider.
But you're not paying the band anymore.
It's the last one on the email I
Yeah.
just sent to you there. It's from last year. It's titled Root Doctors, if you wanna see what it looks like.
And we did this for years and never even looked at
I know.
them either, so.
Eric, is this legal? Voting, voting on a,
All you're doing is setting a budget for how much you'd be willing to spend to accommodate their requests. And
Okay.
their requests, if you can see it, and again, I can forward it to all of you, but I sent it to Barry since he was more his concern. It really deals with, again, parking, let's see what comes up here. It addresses hospitality, dressing room, refreshments, parking, technical specifications, staging, staging and that sort of thing. And you're just trying to set a cap on how much you'd be willing to
Okay.
spend to accommodate whatever their request outside of the monetary remuneration is in the contract.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same as awarding a $15,000 contract to somebody to build a porch. We didn't get into all the other stuff. We just awarded the $15,000. Any more discussion?
No, we understood what we were voting on. We looked, and he said the materials he was going to use and things like that. I think this is different. It's a little different.
So any more? We ready? All in favor then of maximum 5,100 to Root Doctors for the orchestra 2018, do so with show of hands. All opposed?
We,
There's two opposed.
you don't have a contract.
There's two opposed.
Oh, you will. Oh,
The writers got a lot of changes in their stuff in this
As
last
long as
year.
it's the maximum. All right.
Okay. Cool.
and the next one is approval of contract with Fat Cat Productions for Rob Crosby Band for the 2018 orchestra not to exceed 5,400. And Bob, I'm gonna ask, what was that one dollar amount? Not counting the rider?
You look through here, Barry's got the contract.
Here it is right here. 5,000, but that's fine.
Oh, okay, so it's 5,000 plus 4.
I'm sorry. Rob Crosby
Yeah.
is 4,500.
Plus 9.
Wow.
He comes from Sumter, and he needed a hotel room, or maybe 2, I'm not sure,
Maybe
but
2.
that was why his was more. Root Doctors is local, and they just wanted food and a parking space so they can pull up and park.
And are they going to the residents?
Larry is actually talking to some hotels trying to get
Sponsorship.
sponsored trade. And the problem with the resident inn is they're like a suite, and so they're more than, I'm gonna call it just a regular queen-size bed.
More than the
hotel.
Holiday Inn Express.
So he's trying to go that route.
I mean, I'd like to know how much more, because if we can put money in that guy's pocket, we should.
A couple years
That is
ago,
who they call first, isn't it?
they call them. They call a bunch of hotels close by, and they try to get them pretty quick. Because a couple years ago,
Oh, yeah.
it didn't happen until the last month, and then the football games,
Football
state
game.
fair, and everything
Doubled.
swamped the rooms. But he is talking to a few of the hotels on Columbiana Drive that are close, and he talks to them too. But normally, because they're a suite and they're like I'm gonna call it like a small apartment. They're a whole lot more.
I'm sure Larry has considered everything, especially the residents.
I have faith in that.
Yeah.
And let's see, any more discussion on Rob Crosby Band? And they're good. He was good. I like him. Well, we're getting ready. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there a motion for approval of a contract with Rob Crosby Band?
I so move.
And a second. I will second that one. Any discussion? And this is basically the same thing. The band gets 4,500, and then there's 900 in there for him to help
But
cover the
it is
rooms and
worded
food.
that we will not pay more than.
Right.
All right.
And again, Larry kind of picked that number out because he felt like that was a safe number that,
And
2 nights
the
in a hotel room for
right.
one guy, maybe it's 2, I can't remember in his band. He's a small band, but he might have, 1 or 2 people.
Well, they want 2 rooms. I mean, they're basically saying they want 2 rooms in the contract. So
Yeah.
I guess Larry put it's $4,500 for the band, and he put another $900.
And then they have the
in there.
food and sodas and drinks and that kind of junk.
Yep.
All in favor then of the Fat Cat production for Rob Crosby Band at $5,400 max, do so with show of hands. And opposed? You were for?
Yeah.
Okay.
The contract is straightforward.
Mark's against.
I got, yeah.
Okay.
Next one is the contract for Fat Cat Productions for Blackwater Rhythm and Blues, and that one's for $5,200. Bob is, what's the band? Oh,
It's 5,000.
so it's 5,000 plus 200.
And these contracts are straightforward too. So.
And they may be local too. I've never heard of them, but
I never heard of them.
I ain't heard of a lot of people.
You don't get out much, do you?
I don't.
Have you ever heard of them?
Yes.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Where have you been?
Out somewhere.
Going to Saluda Shoals Friday to hear Matt rap in his jazz group.
Good. Good.
Any discussion on that one? You need a motion first. Oh, yeah, thank you. I keep forgetting once I get that dollar amount. Is there a motion for approval on the Blackwater Rhythm and Blues for $5,200?
I so move.
And second. And I will second that. Any discussion?
Is this under the same conditions that is all we'll pay?
That's it.
And that one, I don't think he needed any rooms. So is there,
There he is.
all in favor of this contract for $5,200, do so a show of hands. And all opposed? Next is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address council on anything, whether it was on the agenda or not on the agenda, may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, here I'm still Elizabeth. And I'm still from Coatesworth. All right, let me go back. Let me start first. I want to thank Don and the captain and the code enforcers for, I was pitting y'all against the county. That was a nice thing to do for me because of the neat ways that y'all have kept up Coatesworth. What I have is a mess. You probably know that a third of Coatesworth is in the county. We tried back a long time ago to be congruent, to get us into the all into Irmo. And we have a neighbor, Mr. Andrews, who wanted to take his stuff to the dump. He refused to come into Irmo, and he would have made us congruent. Walter Andrews, he was the bailiff here. Do y'all know? Mm-hmm. And he's on Finsbury. So I begged, I bribed, I threatened him. I think we wanted to roll his house one night, but he wouldn't do it. So now he's paying for it. So if you go down Finsbury, his side of Finsbury, he's down from Elmer. He has a gorgeous home, and across the street, the house is in is awful. But going on down, if you look at 101 Wolverham, it's a mess, and cars are everywhere. It's just terrible. I mean, DHEC is going to get behind that. So I called the county, my friends at the county with NAD. So I threatened them, and I said, okay, come look at Irmo's part. Right up to Finsbury, I showed them where. I said, Irmo does a wonderful job. And go on down Waltham Abbey to where the county starts, because we have a house on Waltham Abbey. Half of the house is in the county and half is in the town. You know where that is. So if you get killed on one side of the house, if you want to drag them to the other side, that'd be the county. So that's 2 houses down from me. So right now I'm saying, okay, you've got 30 days, and I'm going to call DHEC on 101 Wolverham. Y'all know where I'm talking about? Wolverham Circle? Oh, yeah. Well, it's not just that. You know, all the trash and all this right around there. So, and then if you go on down Waltham Abbey and turn, you know how you're going on down around by Lou Circle on the other side, you start the county again. So clearly y'all do so much better job than the county does. So thank you. I guess you thought I was going to get ahead and say something ugly, didn't you? Okay. So anyway, thank you. So right now what I'm doing is I call the county and say I want an update. Because since NAD came into being, they've had to tighten up their rules. You can't have chickens on the house and goats and all that kind of stuff, because NAD is now a new neighborhood thing that they've got going on, thanks to my friends Diane Feinberg and all who have poured it on the county. You know about NAD, the neighborhood association that they have threatened to kill the members of Lexington County Council if they didn't put it in. Some neighborhoods fall under NAD, N-A-D. Coatesworth, fortunately, is one of the neighborhoods that falls under NAD. So when I call, I say, we're Coatesworth, we're NAD, and they go, ooh. And then now they send officers out. There's stricter rules for NAD because we're in the NAD neighborhood where they have to behave like a neighborhood and not way out there. So now they have to, I'm not saying I don't like the county, I'm saying I wish we'd been congruent. A third of our neighborhood, is not. So under NAD, Coatesworth, they have to come and make them not be as lenient as they used to be. You want me to send you the NAD regulations? Okay. All right. So anyway, what I'm doing is pitting y'all against them and saying Lexington County is not as good as Irmo. And Bob, I want to thank you for calling and getting the stops. What I couldn't get done, I won't go into all that in public. But anyway, thank you for helping me with the stop sign and the road things. I want to thank you for that. Let me say something about Dr. Branch's Dr. Branch's office in the bushes up there in front of Dr. Branch. I know that they're so close to the road that they don't get to have pretty shrubbery like some of the places that are way back, but they're dead in the easement. And when we come to the stop sign at the corner of Finsbury, we're out there before we can make a left or a right. I mean, other offices get to plant right there in that minimum setback line, and it's okay. But since they're right up on the road, we've almost got to be right out there. Reason I've never complained in 40 years is because they gave us water to water our flowers because they were right there by our shrubbery.
So at the sign.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So when you come up to the stop sign to make a left or a right, you've almost got to be right out there in it. And I don't know of any way they can prune those big bushes back. I know that other buildings plan in the easement, and that's fine, but they're so close in onto the road. I don't know how they could do it. And I know Dr. Branch is gone, and somebody else is there now. So that's troublesome for them. They always were willing to give us water to plant, so I never have complained about them before. It's a problem.
Did somebody else buy it?
Some woman knows it, perhaps. I don't know. I haven't been down there to see. I have no idea.
I'll be glad to go to Dr. Branch for you.
Didn't he sell it?
I don't know. I thought he still owned it, but I don't know.
Perhaps. I don't know if there's a business in there anymore. He was an optical shop, and he's an optometrist.
Yeah, he's on Irmo Drive now.
Oh, he is?
Uh-huh. That's why I'll be happy to go ask.
Well, if you swing into that, if you come down Finsbury and you go up to the stop sign, you really do have to pull out and almost get into the traffic.
Yeah.
If your car has a long front, you will be in it.
If he still owns it and we ask him, I'm sure
I think he'd have to take those first two big pieces of ligustrum or whatever. I think he's got to take them down because I don't think he can prune them back far enough. Perhaps, but it'd probably kill them.
I know what you mean. But I'll be glad to ask.
I mean, I've never said much to him. I've never been involved in that. I never have, but I see where that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line, that's going to be an issue.
Safety.
Oh, yes, very much so. We're trying to, let me make sure I've followed everything that I've said about Dr. Branch's bushes and all that. We're trying to organize a neighborhood association as hard as we can to make our little neighborhood safe for Coatesworth. I know that I said here that we don't have one. Well, we don't. We don't have one for a lot of reasons. We don't have one because I'm not able to get out and go house to house to collect, meet my neighbors and go ahead and collect dues. But we are trying to recruit people. young people to come to our meetings. We're going to try to have meetings again. We have them at the day hospital around behind Dr. Beaver's office, behind Lexington Family Practice. Our goal is to get, this is an election year, what a wonderful time to ask people to come to our meetings, have them over a barrel. We love that. Beth Carrick is running. We want somebody from Lexington County, some of our representatives, to come to talk about our neighborhood, to talk about Irmo, safety, things we want to do. We want our house values, our property values to go up. We have 216 houses in Coatesworth, and that's not going to change. We don't have any room for growing in there. We have a lot of rental properties, but they can be made to look very nice. Doesn't mean that they got to go down. I can't continue to be the acting president. I got to have some young people in there, people who care about their property, people who want to take care of it, people who are interested in safety. Also, the main thing is neighbors who help each other. With this little tornado that cut through our little, it tore up some houses, some areas in our little area. We had people out with chainsaws helping other people. That's what it's about. It's not about throwing everybody under the bus. So we had a lot of neighbors helping who had chainsaws. Some had big trucks that could help tote off limbs and branches. The garbage people came, the trash people came on Monday morning. They had to hurry and try to get it out there, and those who couldn't, some helped carry it off. Our point is not to hurt anybody. It says neighbors helping neighbors, and that's what we've been around for 43 years since I've been there. So I'm proud to say that I have found I'm not on Facebook. I don't even know how it works. And according to what they're doing in Congress to that poor guy, I'm kind of glad I'm not. But Zuckerberg's rich. He's going to stay rich, too. The thing is, and people are not going to jump off of Facebook. They understand that they can take the licks. But these people in my neighborhood who are connected on Facebook and other avenues, Irmo Talks and whatever, I'm not on that. But I'm on the phone, and they call me, and they say to me, we've got this going on this part of the neighborhood and this going on that one. And I send somebody to help them, and I realize that with just 216 houses, we're not Friarsgate. That's huge. If we pull together, we can have our association back. Mm-hmm. And with that, there's safety in that. And if the people over on Bosworth Field Court or the people way over there on Finsbury Court know who's on Waltham Avenue, knows who on Lewis Circle. We know everybody again like we used to, and we know the newer people who've moved in. If our welcoming committee could get started again, how nice is that? Because we used to be tight, real tight. So I'm trying to get that back. Bringing me back to, somebody called me about, people are awful particular about spending more money on the garbage service, for example. Any little money spent. Walter Andrews didn't want to take his stuff to the dump. He didn't want to pay Irmo's amount of money that it would cost. He wanted to take his garbage to the dump. If he had paid the garbage fee, he didn't want to do that. He wanted to take his stuff to the dump. Way back when, remember that? Mm-hmm. So people are particular about how they spend their money. If you charge more for glass, that may be a problem to some people. I don't care. I don't have any glass much to put in there. I don't care. I wouldn't want to put glass in recycles. I don't care. But people are watching what they spend on the garbage service. They really are. So you may have a problem with that. And an example that everybody called me, you going to council tonight? Go on up there and ask them this, ask them that. Find out if there was really a drug bust on such and such a street. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. They wanted me to find out about the money spent because they see Facebook. When you brought it up, they want to know why did you spend so much money on a porch? I don't know what porch and don't care. Tell me where they got that information. Facebook, and why? Do y'all post things on Facebook and not in another place where I could find out? I wasn't looking. I'm not on Facebook. Could somebody explain that to me?
I think it was corrected on Facebook.
But why is that an avenue that somebody like me would have to look at?
Well, a lot of us do.
I don't have.
It's all on the council video. It's all on the council.
All
video.
right, but let's say I don't. When you voted on the amount, dumb this down for me if you don't mind, Mark. You voted to put a porch up,
Repair.
Voted to repair.
repair the porch because it needed it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And it had to meet code and all other kind of standards for the public to use.
Okay.
We couldn't just
And you voted that it wasn't to exceed,
15,000.
15.
wouldn't exceed 15,000.
Right.
Where did the large amount come from that you named?
There was a proposal that was presented to us that would have used different materials.
Well, initially it was in November,
Yeah.
and we only got one bid.
Right.
Yeah, Bob
And
got
Mark said we needed more
bids.
than one bid. He said in a business you need more than one bid.
That's good.
So Bob put it back up for bid,
Okay.
and we got that one again.
Okay.
And we got two others, and then we got one from a local businessman here in Irmo, and his was the $15,000.
Okay.
And he proposed putting oak railing, which is very expensive, I thought, but very secure and will last my life, what I've got left here anyway, if it's taken care of. He's replacing bad pieces of the porch. He's sanding down rough edges. He's putting a new fascia around the edge of the porch that was something like masonite that was put down when the building was originally moved from the other side of the railroad tracks to where it is now. The railings coming up the steps were not up to code. If you leaned over them, you would fall over.
I used to go to town
So
hall.
if you were a
I
tall
wasn't gonna
person, you'd probably get hit at the hip with the railing, and you would definitely fall over if you.
Okay.
So that's been replaced. Posts that were rotted have been replaced. He saved all the filigree work that was attached to the columns and is putting that on the new columns. Doing a fine job and doing
Great.
with quality products, and his bid was $15,000, and that's the one we accepted.
But there was some question about a higher amount that I was hearing.
That was
That's
from the
what
old
I was
bid.
asked about.
Somebody got that from the old bid back in November, and it was also on the new bid, but it was one of 5.
Okay.
And, you know, some people get a little bit of knowledge and they know everything. I'm sorry, but that's just the way the world
Well, I
has
know
always
that. I
been.
taught school 31 years,
Well,
so
you
did
guys
you.
taught for 34, so you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
well, it's
about.
ugly. It's an ugly living, isn't it?
But that was the misinformation.
Where did that information come from?
Somebody on Facebook put it on there.
I think because the bids were on.
Bid came out at $38,000.
I beg your pardon? You don't, it wasn't on there?
Well, that's kind of, it was actually also mentioned at this council meeting last month.
It was submitted
by
where?
a council member.
A council
That it
member
was
said
mentioned
it?
here that it was 38, but it's not. But
What council member said it was 38?
you'd have to go back and watch that thing. I'm just saying, it was mentioned at this place up here that it was 38, and it wasn't.
So it's 15 instead of 38?
But
Okay, because my neighborhood is kind of a cheap bunch of people. I mean, not the 30, I mean, I think we should watch our pennies, but they come to me with, go to council member and find out how much more it's going to be for glass. Such and such and such and such was 15,000, not 38, and a council member said it was 38. All right. Well, I thank everybody. Like I said before, we'll talk about why I couldn't get a stop sign and you could. I got to send him back to get them. I mean, really now. And also, when we get together and we're strong again, which I hope we are, I hope you'll all be willing to come to our little meetings. And I can used to scare people into coming to town hall, to our little meetings by all kinds of reasons, to try to get people to come and be a part of a neighborhood. You're only safe in a neighborhood when you know your neighbors. Otherwise, crime is up. When you don't know your neighbors, you're not able to watch their houses. We had a little crime watch going on not so very long ago. So you can tell when you tell your neighbor, I saw something suspicious in your yard. You know which cars are supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. It's really bad when you don't have a neighborhood association. It's not smart. So like I said, over the last 44 years that I've lived there, I know what Coatsworth's about, and I know that it's not what it used to be. It's not going to be. The houses are older. I don't expect a lot, but I expect better than we've got now, and I'm trying. There's not much I can do about the fact that it's getting older, but I can certainly try, and with the help of the Irmo Police Department, try to see that the houses try to do something about some of the rental properties if we can. Not that I don't like the renters. I don't like the people who don't take responsibility for their houses and make sure that they make the renters keep them up. And I know who owns most of those houses. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jada Powell, 212 Vultures Lock. I made the original post from the last meeting when Irmo PD asked for something. They got y'all put it off. I made a post saying we should be able to give Irmo PD what they asked for. Somewhere down the line, I'm looking at the post now, somebody mentioned the porch, and I even in the post said y'all were willing to pay $38,000 until Stephen Johnson came up here and gave y'all a $15,000 bid. That's what was said. No, I do not know everything, and I do not claim to.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't informed saying that to you, my dear. I didn't know who made the post. I'm just saying some people just
There you
draw
go.
conclusions.
All right, anyone, oh, go ahead.
There you go.
Lindley Hummel. I live right Chadford and London Pride. Ratification of the solid waste increase. Ever since we went to Tyler, there's no need to put a recycle bin out anymore. My opinion. It all goes in the trash because it's a waste of time. It's costing the citizens more, and the companies really aren't making money off this. They're losing because people are still throwing glass in their trash. So it's a waste of time and resources, and it should be just cut from the contracts and everything just go to waste, period, because that's what's happened to a lot of it anyway.
Are you saying the recycles are going to trash too? I'm asking. I don't know.
Yeah, everything goes to trash. My cans I collect now because I'm gonna go ahead and recycle them myself and collect the money on that, so I can get some money out of that.
Okay.
The D.
Excuse me, you're saying all of the trash,
The recycles.
all the recycles are going into the trash?
We don't generate anything really. There's so little that goes in that actually ends in that can anymore because of the limits of what is required or what is asked. Mm-hmm. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Well,
but that's my opinion. That's just my opinion.
I can tell you that mine is normally full on recycling, and my trash is very, very little. Now, it's just my wife and me.
No, it's just two of us. So yeah. I guess we're different. That's cool. D, E, and F. I don't understand how you can approve a contract when you don't have a written contract. That the wording should have been changed in the first place before this was done. This was done wrong, but that's just my opinion. The next is the concealed weapon thing, which kind of perturbs me a little bit. As a CWP holder, I am actually banned from Irmo.
No, you're not.
That's the way the ordinance reads.
No.
You need
It
to stay for the
says
discussion.
no concealed permit. It says no concealed weapon. So there's a problem there. And that's what Honorable Barry was trying to fix, but no one wants to listen.
We listened in 2016 and got advice from the chief and the attorney to leave it as it was.
Well, we got
For
on,
their reasons.
we got that on our agenda for discussion.
And
so
we'll
we can
discuss that in a few minutes.
The reason I didn't second is because we're going to discuss it in a minute,
Yeah, but we're not gonna vote on it. We could have voted on it back when I had it on there.
And let me remind
So it's
everyone
not a,
here, this is.
So wait a minute, now it's not a debate anymore now because
Right.
it's back
This
and
is
forth?
getting
Come
out
on,
of line.
Marty.
This is getting out of line.
It's not getting out of line. It's getting
This
out of
is a
line because I'm
presentation
asking the questions
by
now.
citizens.
Y'all just debated back and forth with everybody in here,
No,
but
I
when I
haven't.
asked them the
No, I
questions,
haven't
right.
either.
Everybody else got a chance to speak.
No.
I mean, come
Everybody
on.
else got a chance to speak.
And
I can't, and now that one person wants to say something, it's
If you want to finish what you got came up here to do so. That's fine.
Wow.
We're going to get this back in track.
2019.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Anyone else? Next item is discussion, and we have this discussion on municipal revenue streams. We talked a little bit during the budget workshop about them, but the state only allows municipalities and counties, school boards, and different entities certain revenue streams. Ours is a business license. We have a property tax. We have that thing called the uniform service fee, which is assumed by many that that has to do with water, sewer, electricity, garbage, those kind of services. And then there's the franchise fee, and there's a hospitality tax. The State House was, but it's not going to happen before they close. They're looking at another penny tax that municipalities and counties can add to sales in their town, but that money has to go towards capital improvements and allocated towards certain things like that. Like if you're building a new park, or you're building a new town hall, or police department, or fire department, or something. And some of it could go towards the maintenance of those structures that was built with it, which may not help our town too much because everything's already built, so to speak. But it may at some point, if we wanted to do the penny, that you could put that money and hold it until we needed a bigger town hall or bigger whatever, or another park or something.
So you're proposing a new tax? You're
No,
saying you would
what
add a
I'm
new
saying,
tax?
these are the taxes that are out there, and these are the taxes that the state allows us to have anything to do with.
So which one are you
Some of the other stuff we
proposing then?
don't. Right now, I'm just discussing, not proposing anything, and trying to explain, since I got the floor, why I put this on here. I think council needs to, I keep hearing, and it was on our minutes, where two council members said we need to find more money.
We do.
Well, if we do, then these are the only areas right here that we got to look at. And we got problems with every one. Every one of them has pros and cons. We can raise a business license fee. We haven't raised it since '89, but I don't think it's fair when they're already paying probably, if you look at what the business collects and pays to the town, those local option sales tax, the accommodations tax, and I'm just going off my memory of what we looked at earlier.
Yeah.
I think it was 73% of the money that we get, not counting the garbage tax and the fire tax. 73% of the money that runs the town comes from the local businesses.
The local option sales tax is what you propose
And
to increase.
I still
right?
haven't gave up the floor yet. I'm still going over these things. The property tax is something we got rid of back in 2002, 3, 4. That could be something that we could look at. The problem with bringing back the property tax is the state said years ago, they passed something that says you cannot raise property tax any more than your population increase and I think it's cost of living increase. Is that the two?
It is a formula.
Yeah. And then you have a 3-year or 5-year look back that if you, let's just say, went up 1% every year, and you could have gone up 1.5% every year, every so many years you can go back and recalculate and grab all that.
I don't want to do that.
The problem with the property tax is, the biggest burden of it is, again, on the businesses. When they did that Act 388, and counties and everybody that were doing property tax couldn't charge residential properties anymore for school taxes and stuff, the county still had to have X amount of dollars, so they just went up on property tax. and it went up on businesses, commercial properties mainly. And again, they're already paying 73%, so we're kind of stuck there as to if we do that, one, it could be challenged that you can't legally do it because the law says you can't go up more than your population increase and whatever. Some people interpret that to mean if it's zero, you can't go up on zero. Others say no, the law says it can't even be increased, not implemented. There's been some attorney general opinions on it, and they basically told Edgefield County, since you have zero, you can't do it. They also interpreted the law to mean that if a town got incorporated, they couldn't do it, which a lot of people have said no. That's, you know, but until the court gets it, it's stuck. We don't know. The other thing is that uniform service fee, which has, and Eric, I want you to kind of look at some of that stuff and give us some legal opinions maybe by the next meeting so we can know a little bit more. That uniform service fee, some people think that has to do with garbage and electricity and utilities and nothing else. The thing that I had talked about earlier was coming up with a uniform service fee and calling it a home tax or whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Millage.
Well, you can call it it's really not a millage because it's not a percentage. It'd just be a flat tax based on every home.
Flat tax is a millage.
Kind of like the garbage. Well, the garbage is not a millage. It's just a flat fee, $180 a year or $210 now.
Tax.
But yes, tax. It is a tax. Whether you call it a fee or tax or franchise or whatever, business license, it's a tax. But these are the options the town or the state gives the towns. Whether they call it a license or a tax, they don't care either. It's all the same. It costs money. It costs somebody money. And you can either...
And you just want to charge the residents that uniform service fee?
I'm not going to get into debate on that because I'm not through discussing the options.
I mean, I'm asking you a question. I mean,
You can answer.
This is a discussion, right? I'm asking you to discuss
I have the floor. I haven't given it up yet. So no, it's not a discussion to go through.
This is a discussion.
I'm
asking
all this
you,
stuff
do you
out
mean
there
to...
for council to
The
know.
clarification, I'm trying to understand. You want
The other thing is the franchise fee. And the state allows us to charge anywhere from 0 to 5. We charge 3.
So we just listen to you for 30 minutes?
Some other municipalities, a lot
Nice
of them
discussion.
do charge to 5. We can look at that. Again, the same problem is it's a disproportionate share on the businesses as opposed to the residents. So, you know, we can look at that. 1%, as I said, what ago is probably 210,000, 205,000, something in that range there. But it's a charge on your electric bill, a charge on your cable bill. They got cable in the ground. Any of those type things that do that. And then you got the hospitality tax, which we do not have. Richland County has done the 2%. So anything in the town of Irmo, they get the 2%. Anything in the town of Irmo on the Lexington side is nothing. If we do a 1%, which is our max that we can do, if the county is already doing it, then we could do 1% across the board. The restaurants in Lexington and convenience stores and all those type places that, you know, grocery stores would collect that, and Richland County would go from 2 to 1. But that money is got guidelines on how it can be spent. It's just not a general fund money. It's limited to things that have to do with hospitality and bringing in people to eat at your restaurants and that kind of stuff and shop at your convenience stores. So these are the areas that we can look at, and between now and the next meeting and sometime next year, we need to determine which of these do we want to do, if any, because that's the only way we're going to find money. It ain't no finding it under a rock. It ain't no money tree.
So there's no other areas? There's no other areas we can look at?
If you can come up with one, I'd listen to it. I'd listen to anything, because I don't particularly like a lot of these.
When's the next budget hearing?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
The second meeting in May, 3, 4.
That's when we ought to decide. We have the options. I think that's when we ought to decide. I think gives us time.
Some of these, you know, before we do the budget, we wouldn't get them passed because we can't pass them that quick. But they don't necessarily have to be passed before we do the budget. But I think sometime between now and when we do the budget next year, we definitely got to start.
Can we amend the budget?
Yeah, I mean, if we decide down the road to, say, fund that police position, we can do that and then make a budget amendment, and that's all we got to do.
Just, if I may, clarification.
But yeah, I'm through.
All right.
And wait a minute, let me, see if Barry wants to go next, since he. Do you want to go?
We were discussing. I don't know if I. Could.
No, one person was discussing, and
no, you were.
According
you
to
were,
decorum,
you were lecturing.
one at a
You weren't
time.
Discussing.
That's kind of an old rule, but you can go ahead now.
I'll wait and listen to
okay.
more discussion.
So,
I just want a clarification. You said on the hospitality tax that Richland right now is at 2%. And if we wanted to go 1%, they would drop theirs to 1%.
yeah, because you can charge no more than 2.
So therefore, no one currently paying that would see any increase.
Right, on the
That's
Richland
right.
side.
But we'd get one,
We would get one of that.
and Richland would get one.
Now, the places on the Lexington side,
Have none.
and it's convenience stores too, and some grocery items and all. I don't know the whole list, but it's not just restaurants that collect it. But if you go into a convenience store and buy hot dogs at Circle K or pizza or who knows what,
Yeah.
different stuff like that, then you got to charge that on there. Nobody in Lexington County does it, and that's why it's not over here. The county on that side doesn't do it.
It's probably an effective way not to burden the
Right.
entire town,
Right.
which we've talked.
But if we go up one, we also have to go up one in Lexington, and they're currently not at 1, so they would be burdened by 1%, another penny.
That's true.
And you got to remember that probably only about 40% of that money, roughly,
Yeah.
can be used for stuff in general fund
Yes,
expenses.
yes.
And you got to kind of call it, our police officers do so much tourism-related stuff, and our park is so much tourism, and you can even say that WIT does so much tourism because cutting the
does.
grass on the interstate,
Yeah.
but you got to calculate all that stuff out and then be able to prove it so that you can justify it and say, okay, we're taking that much money and putting it in the town fund for this. The rest of it, you got to do something with it. And that's the part too, is you got to figure out how we're going to spend that other money on what tourism-related projects.
So
Because it'll add up quick.
Lexington County does not collect the 2% of hospitality taxes?
They don't collect any.
They don't collect any right now.
Yeah, it's eligible for them, they just don't.
They just don't.
The county doesn't. Now, I think some of the towns do, like Casey and West Columbia and Lexington and all them do.
I think we ought to decide it, May the, whatever.
Decide what? To put a hospitality tax on?
That, whatever we're gonna do, I think it's something that needs to be decided now or soon rather than later. And I think it's important. I understand the need for reserves, and the only way to increase it is something like that, which is, I think, fairly equitable. It's
Yeah.
not like slapping a.
Yeah.
And that uniform service fee, a lot of towns do add fees to their, whatever their services are, whether it's sanitation, water, sewer, electricity. They add a fee to that for doing whatever they do. But it's not going to bring a lot. But it, like I said, 1% what ago was 8,000. So, that's something we can look at. But those little, nickels add to dimes and dimes add to dollars and dollars add to up. So, but there's no good other answer.
Yeah.
And just to talk on it for the record, that residential service fee, whatever you want to call that thing, would be a way of, if you did $50 a year, that's, I don't know, $4 a month to a resident. And that money would go into the general fund and could be used for the police department and other areas, whatever. and it's not a high fee, but a whole bunch of lawyers would probably argue about whether you can do it or not. So I don't know that you can. Eric can look at that because there might be some attorney general decisions on it or some other stuff, but I've talked to 3 or 4 different people, and some of them say, yeah, you can. Some of them say, no, you can't. So I don't know. It depends on what you classify a uniform service as. And you can't charge a uniform service for something you're already doing. So you can't charge for police service because you're already, got property tax, so to speak, to pay for that. Even though we don't have it technically, we do. So that's all I had to say.
So we're going to decide on this, the first meeting in May, the second meeting.
We can talk about hospitality next meeting. It has nothing to do with the budget.
Yeah, and we don't have to decide right now. We just need to start to talk about what we are going to do and what we do want to do, and do we want to do anything? I don't know. May not. I don't know.
Bob, would you be able to estimate?
Sir?
Would you be able to estimate what that hospitality tax would bring in?
We'd have to guesstimate, but yes, we'd be able to figure something out just based on the restaurant businesses that we.
And that's pretty much a recurring
Correct.
year to year because of historical sales, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we did this a few years back, and I think the estimate was around $350,000, but that was
Yeah.
probably 4 or 5 years
And that was what Jeff Shacker and them anticipated based on other
right.
towns, our population, our business license records, and all that kind of stuff.
So it might be more now.
Correct.
But again, if you get 350 and let's just say 50% can go, you
Yeah.
still got 180 left
Yeah.
over, 175. That what are you going to do with it?
We can start to promote more of Irmo. Talk about digital sign.
That money is a little bit
That'll do it.
not
That would help a lot.
regulated like the accommodations. The accommodations tax, you had to do more. The
Yeah.
hospitality, there's a whole lot more lenient interpretation of what is hospitality related. The
Good.
roads are. The road going to our park is considered a hospitality road.
All right.
That kind of stuff. Sidewalks leading to a park, you could pay for them. So there's a lot of stuff that you could do with that, but you gotta.
What if you attract more hotels to come and open up in Columbiana Drive? I mean, that seems that one hotel we have seems to generate a lot of hospitality tax, not
Yeah.
hospitality accommodations tax money for us.
But we
The
need-
one hotel we have.
We need some more.
And it may not do as much anymore because they had a 90% fill rate from the nuclear plant. So
Oh,
they probably are going to be a little bit more empty than they.
Well, I'm more optimistic than that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we need to build more hotels because that's what we need to do to grow as a town. We're right on the interstate. I'm not worried about one particular industry closing up. I mean,
And there was one looking not too long ago. I don't know if they still are or not, but they were looking at a good site for a hotel. But you never know. You just don't know.
The rates even go up and the hotels reach capacity for the masters,
sure.
which,
Our way.
which is, pretty far away.
we got football games. These football games
Yeah,
are
but even the masters.
every home game is booked.
Well, any more discussion? And we can, like I say, if somebody can put it on the agenda for more discussion next month or next meeting or whenever, or we can at least just be thinking in our head.
One thing before you move on, franchise fees. We currently have a 3% in Irmo, and we're low compared to other municipalities.
Can go up to 5.
It can go up to 5, yeah.
A reasonable thing to do would be 4.
4.
And just remember, some of the, like I say, that one business, that's why they wouldn't come into town.
Right.
But most other places do it. And the only bad thing too, I won't say bad, but it's kind of like the ace up your sleeve. You can pull that one out anytime you want to and do it, but you're still avoiding the tough decisions. Because at some point when you get to 5, then you can't go up anymore, and you're still going to have to fight that battle one day. That's kind of, a lot of these things to me are I won't say temporary. The hospitality tax is more probably long occurring.
Yeah, but that burdens one industry.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
we got a hospitality tax on furniture refinishing businesses, and you don't have that though,
Well, if it was a way to make that more of a hospitable industry, more people would come in town
We're gonna
and
put a
do
tax
business
on
with me.
refinishing furniture. Okay,
Put a
that's a
hot
good
dog
idea.
machine in there.
Yeah.
Coffee machine.
Don't expect that one to create a whole lot, 'cause it ain't accreted a whole lot in my account either.
Okay, can we move on now?
All right. Next is the discussion of the town code, 22-103. There's been some discussion on that out there on that page and other places about that. And do we have that thing, 22-103?
I've got the minutes, which I.
Well, I was talking about where the ordinance
Oh,
is, all there all together.
But I think they ought to be able to read this.
But we don't have the 2203,
It's on your screen.
No.
Oh, that's 1808, yeah.
the regular ordinance.
Yeah, right
The
there.
one that's on the,
It's right there on the bottom.
on the bottom of it?
Go back. That's the
Yeah,
ordinance down there.
yeah, the current code. Says, any person to carry a concealed weapon about his person or any pistol, dirt, metal knuckles, razors, ice pick, hawkbill, knife, and on and on and on and on.
Read it right. It says it should be unlawful for any person.
Right.
Okay.
And from my understanding from this discussion we had 2 years ago, and from our attorney and
4 years ago,
4 is
2 and 4. We did.
Oh.
This is the third time.
Is right now it's illegal for anybody to carry any of that stuff. Pistol is not defined in state law. Pistol could mean a water pistol. Pistol could mean BB gun. Pistol could mean one of those air pump pistols, whatever.
Yeah, right. Pellet gun.
Pistol could mean 38 Smith & Wesson.
Yeah, and
right?
it can mean anything.
Okay.
If we took pistol out of there, that means people could carry a pistol. They could do all that stuff.
Right.
And there's nothing we can do about it.
That's what we want.
Not necessarily.
Why?
Well, I'm going to get there. If we took that out and somebody was committing a crime with a pistol,
right,
we can't charge them with that because it would be lawful to carry it in here.
What?
How?
Say it again, sir.
No,
you
I'm
said
not.
if somebody committed a crime with a gun, it would be you couldn't charge them with a crime.
No, said we couldn't charge them with the crime with the gun. We can charge them with the crime, but not with committing a crime with a gun
Chief,
because it's
help
not
me out.
illegal.
Chief.
If I may interject, there's a state law. If y'all take this ordinance completely out of our books, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Section 1623-460 under state law says that any person carrying a deadly weapon, usually used in the infliction of personal injury, concealed about his person, is guilty of a misdemeanor. The only thing that they say that doesn't refer to this ordinance, it does not apply, is a rifle, shotgun, dirks, slingshots, metal knuckles, knives, or razors, unless they are used with the intent to commit a crime or in furtherance of a crime. So we have taken 22-103, our town ordinance, and we just basically copied the state law 1623-460. So, but we have added a couple things in our town ordinance, such as the dirk, metal knuckles, razors, and stuff like that you can't have. So there is a state law that you can't carry a pistol unless you have a concealed weapon permit.
Right.
If you have a concealed weapon permit, under issuance of permits under 2331-215 under the state law, which our ordinance cannot trump, we can't trump a state law. Under J, it says a permit is valid statewide unless revoked, and it gives reasons why it could be revoked. If you have a concealed weapons permit and you are in the state of South Carolina, Irmo, wherever, you can carry a concealed weapon. Right. We can't go out and lock people up if they have a concealed weapons permit and they're carrying a firearm, a pistol. So I don't know.
So we need to wax this law, basically delete this law.
No, we don't need to do that. As the police department, as the head of police department, I tell you that getting rid of this law would not be a good thing. Last year, 2017, we wrote 0 people for this law. Okay. 2016, I think we wrote 2. It is a tool that we still can use if we come across someone who has a pistol and we don't want to charge them under the state law. We can charge them the town ordinance law, and it's one of those municipal charges that we can add to somebody.
So why would you want to add a municipal charge that's basically unenforceable under state law?
It is forcible under state law, but we have municipal charges such as
What I'm saying
stop signs. We
right.
have
But I'm saying this law here that says you can't have a pistol. You can't carry a concealed pistol.
You cannot carry a pistol concealed on your person unless you have a concealed weapons.
So why would you charge somebody with that if the state law says you can?
No, the state law doesn't say.
The state law says you cannot.
can't. Nobody can carry a concealed weapon unless they have a permit.
Right.
Period.
But this says you can't carry a concealed weapon.
Period.
Right.
Correct.
Whether you have a license or a permit or not.
That doesn't say that. I mean,
Okay, so the pistol, the reason the pistol is in this one is because of the definition of handgun, a firearm under the state statute. So it didn't encompass BB guns, fake guns, guns that look like real guns that could be used for robberies. It doesn't encompass, a firearm is not a practice weapon that might be used in a armed robbery. So that would be when this would come up. You would have a person that would enter a convenience store with what appears to be a firearm for all intents and purposes, but is nothing more than a piece of plastic. They use it to hold up the store. It doesn't meet the state statutory definition of firearm. It does meet our municipal ordinance. Moreover, if I had a case that somebody was charged and for some reason we wanted to plead them down on the weapons charge as opposed to, and as part of the plead package, if I don't have this, I don't have a whole lot else to go with to plead them down with. There are other ways I could probably figure it out, but this makes a whole lot of sense because it looks exactly like what we're charged, what I would be pleading downward from.
So if a child was caught with a pistol, you could plead that down under this ruling.
It was a misdemeanor. It was in this court.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if this is gone, you can't do that.
Then I would have to go with a public disorderly or something, some other thing that might awkwardly fit. But that makes a lot of sense, as you can see from it, because do I want to charge them under the state, or do I want to agree to plead them down to this that makes sense? Or I can go with another violation, but it just wouldn't make quite as much sense. And again, this isn't really hurting anything.
No.
And all it's really done is incorporated the things that were excluded from the state
law.
statute.
Yep.
So the things like the dirk and the metal knuckles and the razors that were excluded as being quote, quote, concealed weapons under their statute are now concealed weapons under our municipal ordinance. So it encompasses other things that I guess at the time of the state statute they decided weren't really threats as concealed weapons. So, I mean, that's all it is.
Yep.
So it would be your recommendation, attorney, and your recommendation, chief, to keep this in.
Correct.
It was
And it was also Chief Nate's back in.
Chief Nate's 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
if you carry a pistol on your person, you have a concealed weapons permit, by all means carry your pistol. We're not going to stop you and charge you an ordinance that's going to trump a state law of 2331-215, issuance of permits by SLED. I mean, we're not going to trump, So and then when you go get your permit, it tells you where you can and can't carry it. It gives you the outlines. If you break those laws, you have to revoke your permit. And when law enforcement approaches you, you have to advise them that you have a permit, you have your pistol. So, I mean, it actually helps us out.
But this law clearly and plainly says that you cannot carry a concealed weapon, a concealed pistol in Irmo.
If the concern is that
I mean, that's what it says.
Listen, how about this? I can offer and we talked about this the last time we did it. We talked about it in July of 16.
We did.
And
at length.
And Mr. Walker did at that time motion to amend to keep the word pistol, but add except where South Carolina Code Section 20.
Right.
That's perfectly fine, because that's the way the law functions right now. So if you want to make it crystal
Okay.
clear that that's the way the law functions in the ordinance, by all means, do that.
Yeah.
But it is crystal
But-
clear.
But again, we didn't get a
Police
second on
officers
that
and everybody
either,
else.
so.
Yeah, but removing the word pistol, I would not do.
I understand. I understood.
And
Last
if
time,
you
just-
do the accept, whatever it is you said, if they ever change, then we're,
Or you can do something more generalized, except to where the holder is in possession of a valid concealed weapons permit under South Carolina law.
Right.
Some permutation of that.
And I think law enforcement.
That's right, but that's not what was in the ordinance.
And I
when
think
to
law
change it.
enforcement could look at that and say, you got a concealed weapons permit.
yeah.
You're good. I mean, I think we're adults.
Yeah.
We're adults. We carry guns. I mean, you know, we like people to carry concealed weapons.
Okay, so,
Lawful.
If
so
we
then,
want to do that, we ought to put
all right,
it on.
Bob, put that on the next agenda to add that amendment that he just said,
Except
except for where you have the,
concealed weapon permit.
I like the second one you said.
And
So he doesn't want to cite the citation of the statute.
Unless he has a concealed weapons permit.
See if that one gets a second.
You send me the language, we'll sort it out.
Right, but this still would help if you got a teenager walking down the street with a pistol in his back pocket, doesn't have a concealed weapons permit, hadn't committed a crime, but he would still be guilty based on this.
Right.
Correct.
That's the point.
so we're not messing up anything if we do that.
No, I mean, I
Okay.
think it's,
No. Just adding an
it's
order.
kind of an unnecessary word, because that's the way it functions at
Yeah.
present.
But removing
Trying
pistol
to fix
would
something that ain't broke, so.
Yeah, it is a necessary wording because it's not worded that way.
I got you, but I'm saying if
Okay.
we read it the way you're reading it, then all of our law enforcement officers would also be breaking the law by running around with pistols on their persons.
It's not concealed.
Not all of them, not all of our officers
Yeah.
will carry them without concealment.
I don't know. He's got a 40 caliber on his shoulder, on his waist. I could see a country mile away.
I know some of ours carry them on their ankles.
We have a narcotics officer that carries concealed.
Yep,
Yes.
that's who I was thinking of.
So we're not
I don't know
gonna
who that is. So he's,
remove the word pistol.
stealth.
We're leaving it in, right?
Any more discussion on item B?
got it, Bob?
I got it, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Item C, and Ms. Poliot, I'll,
Yeah, all right. I'm bringing this up because we had an executive session a few weeks ago. And first of all, let's go over what an executive session is. The term executive session is still employed to refer to a closed-door committee meeting, whether or not they are considering executive business. In any case, those present in an executive session are sworn to secrecy. We had a breach of this twofold. We had a breach with someone recording the session, and we had a breach of someone talking about the session. Again, in a deliberative assembly, an executive session has come to mean that the proceedings are secret and members could be punished for violating the secrecy. Executive sessions are meant to be secret. And for any of us to violate that, we're holding the town open to liability, to lawsuits. And it's something that we should address, and we need to address it publicly. That's what I want to put out there. Any discussion?
any discussion?
Well, it is a secret session, and the whole thing is, especially if it's a personnel matter, we don't name names out in public for that reason. That's why we go into executive session, so we can discuss it and then make a decision. We don't vote. We just discuss it.
Any more? I agree, we do need to respect that. I think sometimes we go in there too for, I'm gonna say, legal advice, legal matters or whatever. And Eric is giving us legal advice, and that legal advice is to us as a council to help us make a decision. And it may be about something we're getting ready to do, or it may be about something that has already happened and somebody is either threatening a lawsuit or is in a lawsuit with us. And we got to be very careful about what we say that could ruin our ability to win in court. And when we are discussing personnel matters as well, anything that gets back to anybody that may be being discussed and finds out that they were being talked about, so to speak, puts the town at a liability for that. The reason the law allows executive sessions is so that council can go in and discuss something not in public, such as a legal matter. If we were trying to discuss how to defend ourselves in court publicly, then the other party's privy to that, and they're going to know what our strategy is. If we're discussing personnel matter, and that's in public, then they have a right to sue us for that if there's any defamation of character or anything, whatever. And so therefore, we do have a responsibility. I think for many years, it was probably exercised, as far as I know. But the recording or the attempt to record or the taking an iPad in or anything like that and turning it on and trying to record it is definitely against the law. It says so in the state law. It's not an ethical issue, it's a legal issue.
I don't think it says that in state law. I don't see where
Yeah, it
says. The Municipal Association, Jeff Shacker said it wasn't wise to do that, but it's not against the state law anywhere.
In that section of the law, and I think we talked about it, was 22-490 or something like that, or something 490. It says it's illegal for any citizen to record an executive session, and anybody sitting up here is a citizen. So it is against the law.
Well, how come Jeff Shacker said it wasn't?
He also did not
I don't know.
respond to the
I mean,
last email because he knows.
I'm just saying what he said, man. I mean, you're stating it as being against the law.
I could
Jeff
say the
Shacker
same
said it
thing
wasn't.
about an attorney general's opinion that said a council member can't be removed, and they came back later and said, "Oh, we're wrong. Yes, you can."
Go ahead, try to remove one and see what happened.
I'm just saying.
Go ahead and try to remove
they
one.
corrected themselves.
They didn't correct themselves. They said they got tired of you bugging them and said, "Go ahead and try."
It wasn't me. It's the Municipal Association that corrected them.
Okay.
Be that as it may, it's in the law. And it does says it's illegal for any citizen to record an executive session.
Like I said, Jeff Shacker from the Municipal Association didn't agree with that.
No.
So, I mean, is it or isn't? I don't know.
It's in the state laws.
I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about because I don't know anybody who recorded an executive session. But anyway.
Well, you were caught with your iPad in there with the thing on and recording.
How do you know it was recorded? Did you get a copy of the tape? Did you see any copies or any recording?
I heard from somebody that said they saw the red light blinking, knowing it was recorded.
What red light blinking? There's no red light on here.
Irregardless, it's illegal and it's improper.
It's not. It wasn't done. I mean, you assume it was done, but you don't know if
I think
it was
your
done.
comment was, "I've already sent it," so that's kind of.
You've already seen it?
You've already sent it. Was your comment?
Sent where?
I don't know where you sent it.
Who are you talking about?
That's what you
did
told
I
Bob.
tell, Did I
You'd
tell
already
you
sent
that?
it.
Oh, okay. I didn't tell you that, so
And
I
I
don't know
think I
what
saw
you're
the
talking
email
about.
too. I saw the email from Kathy that said Jake Moore had said he had erased it. Anyway,
Who said that?
Jake Moore
Who said that?
said if we recorded it, it needs to be erased. That's I
Who
asked.
said that?
your thing said. You said he had good knowledge that it had been erased.
I think it's
Who said that? I didn't see it. I didn't see an
didn't.
email.
I saw the email.
Was that an email between y'all that I didn't get
No,
copied on, or what?
no.
I mean,
Saw the email.
oh, okay. I don't know what you're talking about. So, I mean,
Anyway, it is very improper. We need to, I think there was an email back in maybe December, January, about how we were going to have and show more respect for one another and get along. That's not the avenue of doing that either. I just don't think that's good for us to be able to go back there and be afraid that somebody's going to say is going to be repeated to someone. There's nothing you can do about it all the time because sometimes, whatever, I don't know. But I think it is out of line. Any more discussion?
In the interest of civility, I'm not going to say anything.
You want to say anything else, or?
I'm good for now.
Oh, okay. All righty. Next is executive session, and we have none. Next is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
aye.